So you've got your basic robes. Please try them on as soon as you get back to your dorm. I want to make sure that they fit and everything like that. Everybody starts as a mage student here at Strixhaven, so everybody has general robes. You'll get your specific robes for your college once you enter that college, but it takes time for everybody. Don't feel any kind of pressure. If you see over there, that student in the black and green robes carrying that kind of worm, they're in Witherbloom. You may end up there. Or if you see on that side of the campus, those two people, they look like they might be arguing or bickering with one another and they're wearing white and black. They're in Silverquill. They sometimes do that, but don't mind them. And please keep up. We have a lot left to see. We're actually headed to the Biblioplex right now. If you look as we walk, you'll see that there are torches. This is the torches of enlightenment. They kind of line the campus and direct us toward the center of the campus, the library itself. Welcome, class. I'm Trevor, and I post D&D videos every week, generally on Wednesdays. My intro has maybe never been as fitting as it is for this video specifically. What I want to share in this video is an adventure that I created for level 1 or 2, specifically for a party of 3 or 4, set at Strixhaven University. The book Curriculum of Chaos comes out soon-ish, or maybe by the time you're watching this, it has already come out. Regardless, I wanted to create an adventure flavored as the kind of orientation or an orientation gone wrong at Strixhaven. So it starts with a campus tour. The PCs or the party, this could be the first game or the second game, depending on how things line up. But the party is touring Strixhaven. They're headed through, and I remember my first college visit with an overly peppy, team leader. There was some kitschy name for it. I don't remember what it was, but they led us through the campus and told us a bunch of nonsense about all the different places. And I kind of want that vibe, but I want things to suddenly go wrong. And I want the PCs to feel like there's this looming threat over Strixhaven that could then unravel into something much more. Before I get too deep into it, I do want to mention that the GM Binder link with the kind of pretty version of this is in the it's in the description down below. You're welcome to take a look at it. There's some stuff in that I won't be able to get to in the video, but I don't want anyone to miss out. And hopefully, even if you don't use the whole thing, there's some inspiration that you can get to kind of get the ball rolling on maybe running a Strixhaven campaign or inserting this into another magical school setting if it's not Strixhaven itself. So while the PCs are on this tour, if they want to stop or if you want to kind of pass by other noteworthy sites, there's a random table for that in the description, but their main goal is the Biblioplex. They'll get to the Biblioplex and they'll hear this. So this is the Biblioplex, the center of the university. Our destination specifically is the Hall of Oracles, a chamber lined with monuments. If we were to venture up a few flights, we would be headed toward the Mystical Archive. That area is restricted, but holds records of every spell in the multiverse. Pretty potent stuff. From here, though, at the center of this hall, you can see the Strixhaven Snarl, a magical core. What? This is when the Auric is going to attack. They're going to be specifically attacking the Biblioplex, and they use mage hunters in their assaults. So I included a stat block for a mage hunter and a mage hunter larva in the description down below. My thought process for this is that the mage hunters themselves are higher CR. They're for later in the campaign. But Mage Hunter larvae are smaller and more manageable for a lower level party. That way, the PCs can kind of have a general idea of middling boss and then an upper level boss being like the Auric as the big bad, or the leader of the Auric being the big bad. It kind of sets up a scale for the campaign, or an arc of the campaign if you want to look at it that way. PCs are on this tour, the ambush breaks out, and the tour guide tells the PCs to hide in one of the kind of aisles of books, like between these tall stacked shelves of books. The tour guide isn't going to abandon them. My thought is that the tour guide would go maybe 35, 40 feet away and be fighting off mage hunters and fighting off the Auric onslaught, in protecting other students, things like that. The tour guide is you could have a stop block for them, but in my head, they're kind of just off stage. And while the PCs are off in this section, some mage hunter larvae are going to crawl out of the books and fight the PCs. Now, obviously, the PCs could try to escape. They could try to run away. There is some possible problem with that in terms of running into further danger because the Auric is attacking, but you would know your players the best, and you can determine how you want to handle that if it does come up. I think my players would kind of get the message, especially early on in the campaign. I think that having it like be pretty narrow is never been a problem, at least for me. So the players would have this combat encounter with the Mage Hunter larva, and I would strongly encourage you to benefit their creativity. If they want to use books as improvised weapons, there's literally a card in Strixhaven called Bury in Books that shows a Mage Hunter being buried in books. If they want to reenact that, let them do it. It's so cool. And there's all of this around them, so like, why not? Why should they only have to fight with the spells or weapons or cantrips that they have? Let them use the environment to their advantage if they choose to. Obviously, it's not a requirement. After the fight is over, the tour guide will come back along with one of the deans from the colleges. This can give you an opportunity to introduce a more important or more upper level NPC, being the dean, and I would let you pick which dean you'd want to use. I would probably pick a dean that would be the most relevant to my play group. If I knew that most of them or all of them were going to be in one college, I'd pick the dean of that college. But you could do the opposite if you want to, I guess, give some exposure to the other colleges that are on campus that might not have a player character in the party, then that would be one way to do it. It doesn't really matter too much. It's just a person with a position of authority who can kind of act as a quest giver that can take the player under their wing. So the dean is going to take the PCs back with the tour guide to their office, and then a conversation is going to come out about like who the Auric are. There's going to be a bit of a lore dump, but these player characters are also going to be commended for how valiant they were and how much they helped in defending the library and how they kind of stuck up for themselves. And that's going to be really advantageous for them. They're going to kind of gain a sense of renown at the university, which is awesome given that they're so new. This dean is also then going to encourage them, if they're interested, into looking for whoever was the informant. How did the Auric get on campus? And what, if anything, did the Auric steal during this assault? There are 2 random tables for that information in the PDF, so you can roll on that. You can just use those as suggestions, but I kind of kept them open. The informant could be the dean themselves, which is maybe the trickiest one. It could be a faculty member or another student. There's a lot of options there. Obviously, any random table is going to allow for that. And then the same thing with the stolen goods. Now, nothing could have been stolen. Technically, the Auric could have been trying to break in just to scope the place out. That puts a little bit of pressure on the DM to make sure that the informant has a lot of information, and it might make it a little bit harder to lead the rest of the campaign in a clear way, but I think it's certainly feasible. If something was stolen, then it obviously becomes easier, because then it's not just how did they get on campus, it's also a matter of getting that object back, especially if it's an important or powerful artifact that was stolen. So this gives a lot of options for where the players can go from here. They've successfully made it through their orientation in a way that they probably didn't expect. They can look into and try to do some role playing to figure out who the informant was, and it can kind of turn into a mystery of sorts, which can be hard to run, but I think are definitely worthwhile. I've done that, not in a Strixhaven game, but I've done that for like a murder mystery style arc of a campaign before. They could go and look for the item itself. They could scope around the campus and see if there were any secret passageways, how the Auric came in. There's a lot of opportunity here, and it sets up a lot of intrigue while also earning the players a good sense of reputation at their new school. Really excited to see how this campaign works. I'm really jazzed about the new book that's coming out, Curriculum of Chaos. And because of that book, I just had so many ideas for starting a game at Strixhaven and that kind of college orientation experience. Obviously gone quite haywire. If you end up using this, if you play this or use any of the stat blocks for the Mage Hunters or anything like that, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any suggestions or want to see kind of a part 2 for maybe levels 3 and 4 and where the campaign could go from here, I'm happy to create that if it's a valuable resource for any of you out there. But I'm excited to see where this goes. And if you like this kind of stuff, especially this D&D magic crossover content or general D&D information here on YouTube, please subscribe to this channel. And as always, be safe. Make smart life choices.